Just
I see you got the stash going. I mean, how can you not feel good with a mustache
yeah,
like that?
thank you. It's fun to change up the appearance.
For sure.
Have you ever had this stash?
I did. I had a handlebar mustache when I lived in California,
Really?
and I instantly saw people treat me differently.
Really?
Instantly, I could tell. I was out at the bars and I was getting approached by girls that I wouldn't normally. It was different for sure.
Huh.
Yeah,
So the mustache has been a thing for a while then. Like that people really just like it.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
I guess it like puts out a statement that you don't give a fuck. I don't really know, but
Fascinating. Wait one sec.
yeah.
I just like
I'll
thought
start
about
making
it.
this sound like a podcast for a second. So, first, if you've been listening to this podcast, you may know it as the Dropping In podcast, but Danny and I are changing the name to the Letting Go podcast, just to kind of evolve into this new era. Dropping In was kind of skateboarding based, and we still might talk about skating, but we also talk a lot about just mental health growing up, life, a lot of different things. So we're here on the Letting Go podcast, and we also have our first guest. His name is Chad Caruso.
Hell yeah! Thanks for having me, guys.
His name is Daddy Chad.
We do call him Daddy Chatty, but Chad, did you know you're one of my favorite people?
No, I mean, I know we were friends, skated a lot, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, like, yeah, I really look up to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Chad, I would say that you are probably like one of my favorite people like on the face of the
Are you
planet.
guys just trying to make me feel uncomfortable off the bat? Is that like the
No, I think like
Nah,
like,
dude,
Thanks,
it's
I
true.
appreciate that.
for whatever reason, like being in the podcast medium is making me want to open up more.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, dude, like you probably saw that thing I made about how you like showed me about meditation in Philly.
Yeah.
Dude, that was like one of the most pivotal moments of my life.
The video or in Philly?
Like what I explained, like how you
Okay.
like how you were meditating and you told me that you were meditating and you explained your perspective to me. Yeah, it just set me off in a different direction, you know?
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So you've been meditating since then, or trying to as much as you can?
I mean, dude, like I'm not doing the 10 minutes per day right now. I'm channeling that into writing at the moment, but I'm like pretty into Buddhist principles. Like I really think about them a lot. And it's
Yeah.
like it's definitely making my life better.
For sure. I got lucky because my parents were both into it, like since I was born. So it was just kind of always there in like the background, you know?
Right. And what made when and what made you actually like go to it yourself?
I'd say, like when you're a kid, you kind of want to rebel against everything and kind of not be like your parents,
Yeah.
you know? So I basically did like the opposite of everything I was raised to do, just completely badass, drop out of school, go, explore all the limits. And then once I pushed the limits like as far as they could go, it kind of like once that bubble popped, I returned back to like, what I knew, I guess, or what. I don't know, it just felt right.
That's cool. How old were you
Yeah.
when you came back, to center?
Maybe like 29.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was always like introspective and like focusing on that stuff. But when I was drinking, I wouldn't say I was being necessarily productive,
Right. Well, here's a experience I'm having. It's like I love being this grounded dude, meditating, journaling, but sometimes I feel like I haven't gone to my limits, and sometimes I fear that I'm missing out.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's each person's own how you feel. But at the end of the day, I think all those things are empty. They're not going to do anything for you. You'll get there. So if you need to scratch the itch, and just like figure it out yourself, then. But ultimately, I feel like when you try them out, you do it. It's fun, but you don't like really gain anything from it. It's all superficial, surface level.
Right. And the things we're speaking about are what, like drinking a lot, partying?
Yeah, drinking, partying, maybe seeking like validation on like, social media or
Right.
public, whatever,
Right. I see what you mean. I
hmm
guess I guess the limits. Sorry, Danny.
Well, what did you mean by the
What?
what you
Sorry
were
for
gonna
what?
miss out on?
So yeah, and I'm kind of thinking about partying, like having a party lifestyle, but not really. It's like sometimes I get this craving, and maybe it's actually quite different to just having a party lifestyle. Sometimes I get this craving to like just drop the whole life I've built and like travel alone, just try something totally new. Just like completely test something that I've never experienced.
Yeah,
But that seems maybe more healthy.
definitely. Yeah, I thought you were leaning more towards the other. That seems pretty healthy.
Right.
Yeah, and then the ways.
It's all about what the intention is,
Yeah,
really.
That's
there's
true.
also ways you can set up your life. I'm sure you know this as like a guy who creates content to where you are able to travel and live that lifestyle pretty easily.
Right.
Like what do you really have tying you down? Just your apartment, car insurance.
Yeah, relationships,
Hmm.
family.
Dude, I was just reading the book, the I don't know, remember the Bhikkhu
Mm-hmm.
Bodhi one. And this reminds me kind of, well, like I underlined something earlier. It says, but when the intentions are right, the actions will be right. And for the intentions to be right, the surest guarantee is right views.
I
Oh, there it is. You got it too. So that just like I made me think about that just because like I feel in terms of like what you're saying, like it just depends like what your intentions are and if they're wholesome, and like if you want to go travel the world and be alone, and if it's like if your intentions are right, then I feel like that's
Yeah. What's
okay,
the reason you do it?
if
You
like
know, because that's going to
yeah,
shape
exactly.
your reality ultimately. And
Like if you want to travel the world but your intentions are to travel, and I'm not saying they are, but if they're to travel and to party and to like do drugs and like experience that part of life, like I mean that wouldn't be like a wholesome intention.
yeah, or some people do it
I,
to kind of like run away in a sense, like escape the things they need to face, or
Well, what was the
yeah.
intention behind the 50 states? Because to me, that would seem like going to my limits, being alone with nobody, like leaving everybody I know for, I guess 50 days isn't that long, but still, it's like a crazy endeavor. For
yeah.
for the listeners, Chad did a 50-day challenge where he traveled to all 50 states in the U.S. and did a new skate trick. Like, what was there a wholesome intention behind that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess the main reason was to learn about myself and just to be alone for all those hours and just pushing myself and see like what I'm capable of, and to be honest, like beyond everything else, I just enjoy doing things like that.
Mm,
Like that's the most enjoyable thing to me is like something that's like is that possible? Like can I do it? And then seeing if I can.
hmm.
That's when I'm like fully absorbed in the moment and nothing else exists.
Right. So you were kind of like in a long state of flow.
I more than I ever had been in my life.
Hmm.
And yeah, I remember one day it was just like one random day in the middle of the challenge. I'm driving through the mountains, beautiful like red rocks or something. I don't remember, and I was just staring out like out the window, and everything just felt like I was in the perfect place at the perfect time.
Hmm.
I never felt that like so profoundly though in that moment. Like I was just so busy and focused that all the things I would get hung up on or worry if I should do or this or that, they all faded away because I was just so absorbed in the moment.
It's crazy.
That's
I
awesome.
think I'm lucky in this way, but I think everyone has access to what you're describing, and I experience it a lot, like just like sitting at a coffee shop. I don't know, like the vibe will be right, and I'll like suddenly have like a spiritual experience.
Yeah, for sure. You could have it anywhere. Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. um, Danny, I feel like I keep firing off the questions. Do you have any? I've got more loaded up though.
You can load it up.
Cool.
You can keep going. I'm just along for the conversation, and if anything, if I feel like saying anything,
So
I'll just
Chad,
interject.
I know that you buckled your knee way back in the day, right? But the surgery was more recent.
Yeah, I can't even remember how long ago. Maybe 10 to 15 years ago or something like that.
Didn't you hurt it and then got better and then hurt it like the first
Yeah,
day back?
I don't know, like maybe 12 years ago or so. I don't know, 15. I tore my ACL and PCL in my left knee. And then I had knee surgery, recovered. I was all psyched to come back to skate. And then right when I healed, I was like learning all my tricks again. I was all psyched up. And some kid just rode into the skate park on a BMX bike. And I was dropping in, and he just kind of T-boned me. Wasn't looking and just rode right into me. And I tore my MCL in the same knee.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and
That's fucked, dude.
so then that kind of like knocked the steam out of me after that. I was just like, I couldn't believe it, you know?
Right.
Isn't that what sent you like downhill?
Yeah, for sure. That was like after wanting to come back so bad and then getting hurt again. It was just easier to kind of drink and skate occasionally and, you know, talk about skating more, go out to the bars, skate parties. I would still skate, but you know, I wasn't like as focused as I was at.
Okay, so when the injury happened, you channeled it into like going to bars and shit.
Right.
What was your mindset? Because you were out of skating after the surgery you had recently. Could you describe your mindset? Like, how were you going to tackle that period of being static, you know, this time?
Well, now I came into this surgery sober. So none of that was like even a challenge. I was just, I used this time all productively. I wrote a book. You know, I was just like focused on things. I didn't really have any of the same, I guess you call it like afflictions or pains through this one. They just didn't exist. I don't know if I'm just in a better mental state also, you know, and older. When you're young, you kind of want to be out and like with your friends and this and that. Get a little more calm, I guess, when you're older, you know?
Right. But it must have, like, would you say it was still difficult, or are you so positive that it was just like fine?
To me, honestly, people were sending me messages like, "Oh, I'm so sorry" and shit. And I really couldn't like wrap my head around it.
You're just like, I'm just
didn't
vibing.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, I'm 35. I've been shoveling Tanner, the skate park I go to every winter to skate the ramp. I'm like, yeah, I don't mind taking a winter off. I'll just chill and, you know, work on something at home.
See, this is what.
Chad, I you know what's funny? Hearing you say that you're 35, like, because the last time I asked you how old you are, I think you were like 32 or 33. So for the last 3 years, I've just been saying you're 32
you can stick
or
with
33.
That.
I just I forget that you age. You're just like, I don't know. I see you as this just like this figure that like just is like immortal.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
some
mentally
reason.
I don't. I'm sure physically I'll start to deteriorate, but you know,
Yeah.
mentally I feel the same. It's weird. I catch myself all the time when my age hits me. I'm like, I feel like I act like I'm 24 still or something. You know, I'm just such a kid.
But I could
don't know if that'll change ever, but
for sure.
I could tell you have wisdom though, and that's what I feel like with a lot of my older peers. It's like I have the same sensation. Like sometimes I get surprised when they grow up too, but it's because like I think the age gap like tracks. So like the difference in experience we have in terms of time is always the same. So like you're always gonna have that much more length of experience than us, you know.
Right. How old are you guys?
20. I'm about to be 25 next month.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
I turned 27
I'm
this year.
Catching up to me. Shit.
I know, dude. Fuck, I'm gonna be 30 before I know it. But you know,
I was just gonna say
ahead,
that there will be a time where we're both in our 30s, right? You're 33.
Me?
Yeah. Well, how old did you say you were?
Oh, I'm 30. I'm 35.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh damn! I think we're gonna miss it.
Nah, so he'll be 40 when you're 30, dude. Me and Chad, we'll be in
Yeah,
our
we'll share
dirty
the 30s
30s
for a couple of
together.
years.
Dude, we let's share a seltzer and talk
Hey,
about Buddhism.
doing it right now.
Hey.
But oh shit. George, it's funny that you bring up the I think you brought it over. I know you mentioned it in that video. The Philly trip is when Chad like
Yeah.
changed your life. It's funny. This wasn't life changing or anything, but Chad made me so mad when we were in Philly. Do you know what I'm talking about, Chad?
Nah, I'm not sure
I
which
don't know if
time
you do.
exactly.
It was when well you piss me off all the time, but it was when you guys set me up to the Airbnb to shower while you guys looked for a parking spot. And it was so insignificant that maybe you don't remember, but you guys set me up, and you and Josh and Ross, I think, went to go park the car, and I guess George, I don't know. And I'm showering, and then I guess I'm taking too long, and then you guys needed someone to open the door downstairs for you guys, and you're calling me and all this shit, and I got so fucking mad. And I was like, I like had to run downstairs, like hop out of the shower, like in my fucking like no shoes on, nothing. And then I was so mad at you guys, and then you just straight up like looked at me. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were like, you said something so like so fuck. It was honestly kind of mean, but like in a very like you're trying to tell me like that what I'm so mad about means
Yeah,
absolutely
I think I
nothing,
remember the moment.
and that there was nothing that you were like, what do you want me to do? Like walk through the door? Like I guess nothing I can
Right.
do. Like
It just cut
and
through
and
all.
and I remember
It
being
like
so
just
pissed.
sliced through all the anger or whatever moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it wasn't like you were mad at me or like trying to be mean or anything. You were just like trying to like just show me like it's not a big
Right.
deal. Like this is nothing. Like you shouldn't be like stressing out or pissed off
Yeah.
over this. And I never understood
Yeah, I
it
mean, he
until
did
like
that with
I mean,
one line.
Yeah, I mean, basically, what are you going to do?
yeah,
Just sit there and keep saying things that's not changing the situation of here you are, you open the door, like,
yeah,
what had to happen?
yeah. I know exactly, dude. I still had to fucking go downstairs, pissed off as shit, and open the fucking door, and Chad was like no nothing was bothering Chad. He was just like he was just like chilling, and that also the thing that like it's funny. There's like these like very specific instances that have turned into where I am today, like and like with our conversations and everything. And the next was when we were at that smoothie shop with
Hmm.
George, and the cashier was like miserable. I mean, she was pissed off. She was being rude, and I'm standing behind you making jokes about the cashier because like she's really getting to me, dude, and I'm feeling like a very like I like am feeling a very gut thing about wanting to be rude and mean to her. And I'm saying all these jokes behind Chad, and Chad's not even flinching, like he's not laughing, and I'm just like, are my jokes not funny or something in my head? And then later on we talked about it. Well, I mean, before I get to that, like Chad, when he got up to her, Chad was so nice to her. He even left her a tip. And in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that? Like this woman was so mean and like was just so like condescending and rude. And then when we sat down and we talked about it, like Chad put it into perspective for me. And again, I was letting something like affect me without like thinking about her and thinking about like whatever it is that she might be going through or like that she's just another person and there's a lot more to it, but like now I think about that all the time in all my experiences and even in my like intimate relationships and stuff like that. I try to always now just be like, oh, there's so much
Right.
more, and I shouldn't just say shit just because it's getting to me, and don't let shit get to me if it doesn't
Yeah,
have to.
those are the toughest moments to like stop yourself in your tracks, especially when someone like gets you going, you kind of get lost in that like responsive mode.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, like you said, is you know, they're just another person. They don't want to be pissed and miserable and probably work at the smoothie shop or, you know what I mean? They're probably having a shitty day. So if I can, you know, cheer them up a little bit, like change the whole course of their day
Yeah.
just by like giving them $1 or saying a stupid joke or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's just crazy that like your mind was going straight to that and my mind was going straight to like be an asshole, make jokes about her, like and I don't know, it's just it's
Yeah,
just
so
fucking
what
crazy in my
like
head.
what is that state? Is it like a state of like non-reactiveness to like what's going on, or like how
Yeah, I guess
yeah.
there's an element of kind of like a meditation in there where you're not things happen and that you don't let them consume you. In meditation, you kind of watch the thoughts arise and let them go. So if you practice that a lot, I guess you're more aware of what's happening. So you're not just, compelled to act out negatively.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is habits. Life is habits. So my dad used to always walk into places and make people laugh. That's just kind of like what he did. And so I think a lot of life is habits, and sometimes you can get caught in those negative responses, or just society can behave that way, and just kind
Yeah, I mean it's exactly how like if you start doing negative things, if you start getting into a habit of being negative and having negative like remarks, like it's so easy to get stuck that way. And so many people do, but for some reason I guess it's just harder to form those good habits of doing those like doing and saying nice things. But in reality it's probably just as
I
easy, right?
well, it's it's difficult to make a new pattern, because if you already have a pattern formed,
Hmm.
I think I used this example to you once before. It's like picture like a carved out kind of well where like water is going to flow through, right? If you drop water, it's going to
Yeah.
flow where it's carved out. And picture a new
Yeah.
habit as where there's no or a very small crevice. The water doesn't want to go in there; it wants to
Hmm.
go into the big
Oh yeah.
carved out spot. Until you keep
Yeah.
putting it into the small one, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it wants to go into that one.
Right.
So it kind of like
I see.
ingrains the habit deeper and deeper, and then then you don't even think about it. It's just second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like a lot of people start doing these negative habits in that same way is that they're not really thinking about it. And I guess I mean I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with it. I guess it's
I have a
just like
question.
over time things just become what they are. Either you start doing mean things and being mean, you become that way, or
Yeah.
you start I
So
don't know. I'm just kind of like
I
vibing
think
with
we
the
probably
convo.
all have these things where we're like in a groove, and maybe it's more in the negative. Like maybe we wake up and we're kind of like angry to be awake, and you know maybe the first errand we run we're just like looking down, like feeling gloomy. How does one, and I think I have an answer to this, but I'm curious what yours would be, Chad. How does one make that initial realization that you're even in a groove? Because that's the first thing you need to do. Like you need to be like,
Right.
oh shit, like I'm in this habit where I'm seeing the world in a negative light. Like how do you even, I don't know, like how does that trigger when you're doing it so regularly?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know if anyone really knows the answer to it. It's kind of tough to say, because I mean, some people would say that you don't have any control. It just kind of arises in your life depending on what situation you're in or your surroundings. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't really have much more to say on
Makes
that.
sense.
It's kind of yeah. I mean, other than habit building, but like, how do you choose to do to change a habit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, you
Uh,
yeah, you put this in my head when you were telling me that I'm not actually deciding to eat my omelet.
yeah,
It's like like you think of all the things that led up to that, and it's like, so now I'm imagining like maybe somebody is listening to this podcast, and that's what makes them realize they've been in a negative groove. But like, how did they control that they were listening to this podcast?
yeah.
It's kind of
I mean,
it's
well,
crazy.
it is because everything is connected, right? So if you understand that and that all your influences are shaping every action that you're doing in this moment, it kind of takes the weight off of the situation. You know what I mean? And you think like, that rude lady at the smoothie shop, you have more sympathy for her because you realize she's not in control of being angry. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like the situations led her to that moment. Maybe her parents were angry. Maybe her boss just yelled at her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is this kind of like the idea? So do we initially start in that bad groove then because of the idea of like that everything is suffering? Like, do we initially start off with like are predisposed to lean towards that negative route?
I think
It's probably environment, right?
it's all your environment. It's just, there's too many things to calculate. Like what influences your parents had and how they behaved in
Yeah.
school and
So
everything.
childhood and upbringing
Yeah.
plays a huge part then. Childhood trauma, anything involved that happens to
Picture
you.
it like the sediment of existence. Like it goes back forever. Like the way people behaved in the 40s. Like you just have been influenced forever leading up to this moment,
Right.
Yeah.
Chad, do you have anxiety?
I don't think so. I mean, I have moments where,
Fuck
like,
God damn it.
maybe 3 minutes before the podcast, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to do a podcast or
Right.
something.
How do you feel now about the podcast?
And then, once that arose in my head, I was like, shut up. Like, in my head, I was like, just stop thinking about it. I was like, you're going to start, and then you're going to forget about every thought you had beforehand.
Right.
So, yeah, now I'm just chilling. I mean, that's what I envisioned the podcast being, was just us chilling, hanging out.
Right. I do wish we were in person. Like, as we get longer into it, I feel like my brain is getting closer to like feeling like we're just together, but I do wish we had that physical presence.
Yeah. I'll come out for another one.
Word. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I'm down.
That'd be cool. You guys do one there, and then and I'll hop on
No,
the
you'll
other
fly
side. That too. Well, I want to fly in for whenever the video premieres.
Oh yeah.
Maybe so.
Probably May.
Maybe around then.
We think. Part's looking juicy.
I'd like to come out in the summer too, though.
My
What'd you
part is
say?
looking juicy.
Oh yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. I'm pretty I'm pretty hyped.
it's juicy. Don't lie.
It's got some juice. I did break my foot in the middle of it, so I calmed down. But
Oh yeah, are you still broken?
no,
Oh, okay.
I'm 100%. But I'm actually, I want to ask you about this too. I am kind of skating like a big wussy ever since, and I'm curious if you're planning to do the same.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by wussy? Like you're not jumping down stuff, or
Like, I just approach everything with more confidence. Like, in the streets, I'm much more likely to just be like, like, I kind of want to try this, but I don't think so. I'm too scared.
well, how far into recovery are you?
Like, I'm like 100%.
It's been what, 6 months?
We're actually approaching a year.
Oh, really?
Since I broke it, yeah.
George, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Ultimately, you shouldn't have any. You should be back, ideally, the same way you were before. But something comes along with age and every injury, where when you're a kid, you don't think about the future. Nothing matters. When you're an adult, you're like, well, I can't work for,
Right, exactly.
6 months. I can't, so maybe I won't skate this hubba for kind of no reason.
So where's your head at with that? I get really curious about this.
I can't shut that off in my head. So if the situation arises and I'm with a bunch of people and we're filming, like I just can't not push myself.
Really?
Yeah. Even when I'm making a YouTube video or something and I get like a trick idea, I'm still gonna, skate the same way, be pushing my limits. I'm a little smarter about it now. Like I won't just jump down stairs for no reason. I pick and choose my battles. I skate a lot of mini ramp.
Right. But it sounds like you're just following your intuition, and your intuition is still going towards like trying shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm only I'm 2 weeks away from 6 months. So I'm still like weak in my knee, but I'm skating pretty good, getting it back, and I think in like a month I'll be fully recovered.
That's good, man.
Chad, do you think that with that that way of being, do you think it's because like you would just accept that whatever happens, like if you get hurt or whatever, like you're just gonna be okay either
Yeah,
way?
I think there's an element of like a lack of worry that I have. I never really noticed it, but as
Yeah.
I've gotten older and talked to other people, like, you know, other people might be worried about getting a house or, not being able to work. I'm just like, whatever. I won't work. I'll figure it out. I'll work online. Like willing to
Yeah.
adapt to any situation. And I guess I hold what I love to do higher than anything else. So it's like not even a question,
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that aside,
I
now.
love that perspective. I got a comment recently, and I think this is a pretty common argument of people who are like skeptical about Buddhism and like radically accepting the present, and it's that they fear that if they accept the present, like they're gonna become like a hobo, and like
Yeah. I've seen that many times. There's different versions of it too. Like people think if they do that, life won't be fun anymore.
yes, that was me. That was the one I
Yeah.
had. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's like a subconscious fear of facing those things, and you like make up this narrative that like prevents you from doing it.
It is funny because like even someone who's like anxiously like grasping on to like their idea of success in society, like job, house, like even someone who's anxiously grasping onto it, they could still lose it all too.
Yeah.
And so can the Buddhist, but the Buddhist will be fine with it.
Yeah, there's no difference except when I'm working, I'm not worried about it. And when you're working, you're like, oh, is it going to work out in a month from now? Like, it's not helping you. It's not serving you, It's just making you work, like, shittier,
Right, dude. Oh, my God. You got wisdom, man. For real.
Yeah, Chad, you're a fascinating
and like I see your
being.
face and like you're smiling and like you look so like you're just saying it like you don't even have to really think about it too hard. At least that's what it seems like to me. And I think that's awesome.
I appreciate it. I don't feel that way. I just feel like a doofy, smiley guy that skateboards. Like I don't, I appreciate it.
Nah, I think I see the Buddha in you, but I do. I try to see it in everybody.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's all there. I like to think that what you see in other people is a reflection of yourself, no matter who it is.
So you think that me seeing all those positive things I just said about you, you think that's me seeing it in me?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, man. I think, and obviously, moment to
it's
moment,
projection.
But,
So how do you get to know somebody?
I mean, that's a layered question. What do you really mean? Because who is anyone except for a bunch of circumstances, really?
Sure.
Well, I think that's how you become close to people, and that's how like relationships form, because you see a part of yourself in that other person, and it's like it feels good to have that. Like when you, for example, George, like when our relationship like flourished, there was like maybe like either a part of you that you saw in me that maybe wasn't yours quite yet, and in me there was I also felt the exact same way. And I think for you it was like maybe like that social aspect, and then for me I think it was that more so aspect of like working hard and like getting the things that I want, and like not giving a shit about other things, and like so that was already there in you, and that's the reason why you've attained it now. And it was just like a projection of you. And that's how we see Chad. Maybe we know that we have that in us,
but it's still developing,
and we can like vibe with Chad on
right.
Exactly, yeah. But we can vibe with Chad on that level because, like, I mean, it's the way that you don't. There's just certain people that you just can't connect with, and there's like you just don't see a part of yourself in that person. maybe it's subconscious but like it's
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if the more like I mean all the things that separate us, if you strip them down, we're essentially all exactly the same. So if you can see that, you know, it's just tough because you get caught up in everyday moments, all
Right.
the
So then,
superficial things. But ultimately, you know, we all have
That's where
core
compassion and empathy comes in, right?
feelings and the same anxieties and worries and the same. It's all the same. It's just there's different details on the surface level. But
right. So then, let's take it to like a loving relationship, like an intimate partner. There's this idea that you want to get to know them, so you can decide if like you love them. How do you form that closeness if I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like how do you get to know them?
so, I mean, I think I used to think that way, back in the day. And if you say this to a girlfriend, she might not appreciate it. But it's more of like beyond all the superficial attributes and the bullet points, there's just human connection.
And what is
You know what I
that?
mean?
Is that just a feeling that you feel in your body?
Yeah, yeah, it's just like being next to someone. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Someone like touches you, holds you,
Yeah.
or like you said, you want to be doing this podcast in person.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there, something that changes. Yeah, it's hard for me to really articulate it, but
Oh, I see what you're saying, Chad. Like if it was like some random person, like maybe you wouldn't, or not some random, someone you didn't know as well, or something. You like it's okay. Let's do it on the
no,
computer.
I mean,
Like, is that kind of what
I'm
you mean?
saying basically any person. I could fall in love with any person.
Mm.
Doesn't matter their
Oh, okay, I
personality.
get it.
It really because I'm not looking at that.
So is that
Yes, I
acceptance?
think so.
Do you,
Yeah, it's
Chad, when you have
Oh, I
all these
see.
perspectives on things, and I agree with a lot of them, but do you feel like you're right? Like, do you feel like other people are looking at the world the wrong way?
um. I think for myself, I'm right.
Right.
I can't say what's right for anyone else because everyone else, like we said, has those different perspectives and experiences and different paths that they're on. So it's what works for me that might not work for someone else exactly.
Right.
You
Hmm.
know,
I will.
I don't think there will ever be. This is the way to live life. This always works for every person. We figured it out.
Right.
Just the same way as you'll never figure out life and not, you know, you won't be happy 100% of the time.
Right.
It's just a part of life for things to go up and down.
Yeah.
You'll never escape that, no matter how enlightened you get.
Right.
You know,
I will say.
But would you say this is the right path? Like this path of like Buddhism and just all this stuff. Like, would you say that is like the path that people maybe should be
um,
on
I just try to focus
in
on
terms
self.
of like a
For
better?
me, it's the best for me. I feel the best, and I help the most people.
Mm,
And then in turn, that
Mhm.
helps more people, and it just like creates this, you know, like a wellspring of
yes.
feeling good.
Yeah. I've reflected on this before. That since you helped me trigger something in my mind that set me to like educate myself about this stuff, and now for some reason I feel compelled. I talk about it a lot on the internet, and so
Yeah.
that's hitting a lot of people. And yeah, so like if you think about your web, like that start, even just for me, I don't know who else you've put onto this stuff. It's like this creating another web, and it's going to create like generational webs, of seeing life in this way, which is
Yeah.
pretty massive.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
But
So, for example, like how Chad, do you remember when we were having dinner or lunch that before I left New York and I was being like a complete butthead and you guys were telling me like, oh, you need to start meditating and all that, and I was saying no, like it's not for me. I've tried it a couple of times before, like it's not my thing. I like I need this like I've encountered a few people since then that I tell the same thing now too, from that perspective, like, oh, you guys need to, like, not need to, but like, oh, you should try meditating, like, you should try looking into like Buddhism or uh, just like anything like that, and they say the same thing, like, oh, it's not for me, like that's not my thing. Like, is it just that they haven't found it yet? It's not their time yet, or is it like, is it truly not what's right for them? Like, how can you know, or how can someone
I
know?
mean, my dad used to say to me when I was younger, he used to say, "Suffer well, son, suffer well," because basically everyone
I
needs to
love that.
suffer enough, so much to where you're just like, "Fuck this, I don't want to hurt anymore." Like, I'm done. And you start throwing away all those toxic behaviors because really, it's ultimately a choice that you don't realize you're making. You know, and
Mm,
you're like, even though you were, like at that time you were like refusing Buddhism, crossing your arms, and like you're like saying you tried it, but you didn't really, and we could kind of tell in your attitude, you know,
yeah.
um,
Hmm. Yeah.
you just hadn't felt what you needed to feel yet, and then
Right.
you once you
Yeah.
did, right? Wouldn't you say that you weren't fully embracing it at that time?
Yeah, no, like, not at all. It took a lot of shit to happen in the course of the next like 6 months for me to like finally, and a lot of talking to you, for me to finally like be like, oh fuck, like maybe I have to do this. Like, I went to treatment. I still couldn't figure it out. You sent me the
Mm-hmm.
book, Ways of Yoga, and I looked at it a couple of times, and I couldn't dive into it. It took me like 4 months to read the tiny book, and then once I finally, like, we had this one really defining conversation, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna read the book, and I read the book. The seed was planted more so, and now it's growing, and I don't think I'm anywhere near a full bloom, but now it's like it's been
Yeah,
life
I
changing.
haven't talked to you in like a month or two since our phone call the other day, and I could hear it in the tone of your voice
Hmm.
Mm,
and the things you were saying,
Yeah.
like where your focus was, that you had changed a little bit,
mm,
for the better.
Yeah, dude. I mean, a lot. I mean, like, there's still so much that needs to be done. I still find myself like clinging on to things, whether it be like something physical or something like that somebody said to me, and feeling the need, like, oh, I need this person to apologize to me, or why is this person disrespecting me, or whatever. Uh, but at least now, what I was telling you the other day is, like, now there's that thought that pops up that's like, oh, maybe, like,
mm,
don't, maybe, like, try letting it go, maybe try to think about why this is happening, why this always pops into my head, and it's, do I deserve an apology, or why do I need an
Mm-hmm.
apology? And there's things that you told me in the past, and then it makes it easier to be like, oh well, maybe I don't need one. Like, maybe I can still be okay even if I don't get one, or if I don't get what I want or need. And and then even stuff like within, aside from that, like, stuff is changing. Like, I fucking, it's we're about to close out the third month, and I'm about to finish my third book of the year, so I'm like feeling super stoked. Like, this is all stuff that would have never happened back then. I was living a life that was full of like superficial things. Like, I only wanted to fucking get drunk. I only wanted to watch YouTube videos or Netflix that was not meaningful. And now I'm doing things that are meaningful, and it's really transforming my life. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of went
well,
off
you
there,
just
but like, all
you
that
just
changed everything.
described like what I was asking about earlier. It's like when you're in that groove. So now you'll be in the groove, but you experience like some thought that allows you to actually step out of it. And I remember earlier I was asking
Yeah.
about like how do you make that happen if you're in the
Right.
groove? And I think the answer is like you need somehow, like, it's not really this, I believe, is out of your control, but somehow you need to become interested in learning about how to better yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and the act of doing that learning like puts it in your brain enough to where then like when you're in your grooves, like you'll remember it from your learning. that like, oh, like I can step out of this if I want to?
I have an answer to that question now. Now that we've like fleshed it
What
out,
is it?
it's I just lost it. Never mind.
That's okay.
It's just, literally just in and out. It's gone.
I would love if you guys are willing to describe these conversations you're having, you two, like that you were just mentioning. Like what are you guys talking about, you know?
Okay, so for me, it mostly started when we were at that smoothie shop, and it was because I was having a lot of problems within myself, within how I was feeling, problems in my relationship, problems in my emotional reactions towards basically anything. And I mean, that's basically been the content of all our conversations. But usually it's a lot of Chad calling me out on my shit and me saying, "Oh, but what about this?" And then Chad's like, "No, like that doesn't fucking matter." And then Chad, I mean, for a while our conversations were literally just Chad was just telling me, "You got to read the book. You got to read the book. You got to read the book. You got to read the book." And
Yeah,
I was like, "Why don't you give me an
you got to
answer?"
put in the work. That's the answer.
Right.
You-
Chad, why if like a lot of your like what you're saying is like this is what's best for me, like what why do you feel compelled to act as a mentor and share, you know?
Um, I don't know. It just feels. I enjoy teaching.
Mm.
Like my dad was a yoga teacher, so I think I just have the genes. Like that's why I teach skate tricks and stuff like that, and I just like articulating all the details and everything. But other than that, I don't really think of myself as like a mentor or anything like that. I try to really focus on myself, and not tell someone what to do.
Right.
More so like lead by example, if anything.
Right.
Than, But I remember what I was going to say before.
Oh, go ahead.
So, you were asking about how to bring the thought of changing into existence. I don't think you do. It's like a accumulation of events, like we were talking about. But think about it like when someone's an addict, you can't make them quit. You know what I mean? It's like you can't make them realize it. So it's the same thing. They need to suffer enough until they realize that moment for themselves. So I don't think you can really teach it. It has to, like you were saying, just kind of arise upon you.
Right.
You know?
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then once it does, you get the little tick that Danny got. And when you do something, then it goes, hey, wait, don't do that. Like you catch it, and then it starts the feedback loop, and then it just keeps getting, you catch it faster and faster, and then it disappears.
Right.
That's small.
Dude, that makes so much sense. And I mean, I worked in addiction treatment for years, and for some reason I still couldn't figure that out for myself. But it's so true. Like, I mean, I hit my rock bottom, and there's nothing in me that wants to ever experience that again. So it's like now I everything I do, even when things get bad, it's like now I know you can't go back there. You can't do that. I mean, dude, I was suicidal to like the worst degree of my life, self-harming to the most I've ever done in my life, and ruining everything in my life. And now it's like I cannot go back there. I do not want to go back there. So now that's where all the work now is getting put into place to assure that I don't. But I do know that something's always going to happen. It's going to make me feel bad, but I'm arming myself with all the tools necessary to not fall back into that.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'll try to formulate this all in my own words. Like, so to an extent, like you need to have enough experiences, potentially being like suffer. You need to suffer enough to yourself decide you don't want to suffer anymore. That's the pivotal point where then you seek out knowledge that's going to put you on a better path.
Yep. You realize for yourself. That's the most important part.
Right.
Because we've all been there. How many times have you had
Yeah.
someone tell you to do something? It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Millions of times it's the best advice for you. You can look back on it and be like, yeah, I was 100% right. But until you're like, oh, that's right. Okay. Then, yeah.
Right. Something popped in my head back when we were talking about, like, is this the right path? I think my stance is a little more aggressive. I was just like somehow in the back of my mind formulating this. It's like, and I also am aware that this perspective is kind of judgmental, but like when I see people like living in negativity and kind of in their ego worlds and like being in toxic friendships and relationships, I'm like, I think my automatic perspective is like, oh, they're still living in delusion. And isn't there's something in Buddhism about delusion, right? It's like,
yeah.
So in that sense, like I kind of think like there is a truth, and the truth, I'm wondering, maybe the truth is to realize that the ego is an illusion and to be able to step back from it, you know? So maybe I think it is the right way.
Yeah, but I mean, you're constantly going in and out of that. Like there's going to be moments where you're egotistical and where you do something. And it's just like we were just saying, all those people like the addicts, or like myself included was an addict. You don't, those moments are necessary. Like I wouldn't be here right now if I wasn't that way, of the way that you're saying was the wrong way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're all interconnected, and it's hard to say that the bad thing isn't worthy, because
right.
Like manure, it's where the good things grow from.
That's true. That's a great point. And a necessary call out, because you're right, I'm in my ego world, I would say most of the time, you know.
I wasn't saying you were. I was just saying.
No, but I think I think like I don't want to put a percentage on it, but like yes, you're right that it's in and out. It's just the outs are very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also there's an aspect of like doing what works. Like for a lot of people that may be in that, like that's just what works right now, and they may not be feeling that suffering.
Yeah. So something that popped in my mind when we were just talking was, maybe not everyone acts like we act. Like we might have similar personalities that need to go to those extremes before we snap out of it. And some people might be a little more, balanced or scared to go to those places, and they live a very calm life where they're not ever dabbling. You know what I mean? So it's tough to say like this way is
right.
It's just what we're.
Yeah, I mean, I look at people and like there's some people that just seem so like stoic, for example, and like for us, George, we have to read it and like understand it and like have it become at least for me. I don't know if that's exactly how you feel, but for me, it's like I have to learn to become stoic. I have to read the philosophy and embrace the philosophy to become stoic. But I look at some people and they're just like, oh right. Shit, okay, whatever. Like they don't attach like an emotional thing to something that happens. Like if they're waiting in traffic or something, like to me it's like fuck, I get annoyed and I have to practice being calm. For some people they just are naturally that way, so they might not suffer from that.
Chad, you could stay as long as you want, but we're approaching an hour, so why don't you tell us about your book? I'd love to hear about it, and it could act as a little plug.
All right, cool. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
It's funny, I forgot the name of my own book. So what the hell is it called? Oh, Focused. Right? It's called Focused. Kind of like a play on words, because you could stomp a deck. Back in the 90s, they called it focusing a board.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And then, just like being sober, being focused, it's like, but basically it's just like a memoir. It starts from where I started skating and kind of the things that planted the seeds, my family, things that I felt were important to that journey. Then my childhood through skating, leading into my injuries, and then going down the black hole of drinking and nothingness, and all that good stuff, and then eventually suffering enough to pop out of it. And then I end with the 50 states, kind of go through that and talk about all the experiences from that challenge.
Mm.
You're in there. I mentioned you.
Oh, hell yeah. Is the book out?
No, I'm still editing it. It's actually pretty hard to write a book, especially I dropped out of high school and was like terrible in school, so like I'm just like a fidgety kind of like I need to go out and do things.
Right.
Book work and stuff like that was never my suit. So it was a cool learning experience during the surgery. Like, actually felt really good to sit there and, kind of read and write more.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What compelled you to write a memoir?
I think it was just that I like to have something to do and something to focus on that's challenging, And so when I can't skate, I'm home for 5 months. Like, well, yeah.
Right.
I thought it was a perfect thing to do. And if it helps someone that might have, thought about drinking but never did, and then they read it and then they quit, like, it was worth it.
Nice.
So.
Do you know when that's coming out, Chad?
I don't, but hopefully by the summer. I'm like new to this whole process. Right. I'm like editing it myself.
Oh, cool.
And, it's like it's actually much harder than you'd think. Like, and then going back through it and editing each little thing, it becomes, pretty tedious.
I bet, dude. I hate editing a YouTube video and like having to start it over, when I'm.
Oh God, yeah.
I think I mentioned this to you a while ago, but if you ever want to send me it like early on, I'd love to read it and like I could help you. If opinions are helpful, I'd love to share.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it over later.
Cool.
Send it over my way, Chatty Boo.
All right,
dude, I can't wait.
Me
to
too. I'm buying one too.
Shit.
I'm making a video about it on my second channel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck yeah, dude.
Book
that's
club,
going on
dude,
my
Danny,
main channel, bro.
We should do a first podcast book club with that.
Yo, I'm down. Hell yeah, we'll have Chad on again.
This kind of.
Yeah, I'm down whatever. Honestly, I love doing this.
Hell yeah! Oh my god, I almost just closed the browser.
Would that have not?
I don't know,
anything?
dude. That would have sucked ass. I actually really, I really like where this conversation went. The beauty in not planning. Just allow it to.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I can't do it honestly any other way. When I plan, things like don't work as well. Like I don't know. I hate like thinking about line I have to say or this or that. Just like when it comes, I feel it, say it, and that's it. Nothing to think about.
I've been operating that way lately too, kind of with like all my stuff.
Yeah. It's like no matter how much I plan, then the moment arises and then something pops out and it's just like, all right.
And in a way, like having all that planning that you did in the past can just make you more on edge when the moment is there,
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's levels to it, planning can be very helpful, So it just depends how much and how you're doing it. But
it's a whole other conversation.
Generally, I just, I'm on a whim all the time.
That's great, man.
I feel that.
Shit, Chad, how you feeling? Should we let you go?
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, it kind of
like we should. I feel like an obligation to make it to the 1 hour mark. I'm looking at 30 seconds.
Oh, we're getting there.
Come on.
Yeah, dude.
Well, is anything left on your mind, Chad? After all this?
What's up with George Poulos' future? Where are you thinking of heading?
I'm actually like what you just said about planning is like really what I'm going through right now. Like Danny and I like obsess over like what we're doing with social media on this podcast every week, but like I've finally hit a place where I'm just like I feel like I'm just like throwing darts out there, like I'm still doing skating, but it's just when I feel like it. And I used to have this very, very toxic attachment to like making sure my views were up, but now it's like I don't care, so I'm doing whatever I want. We're doing this podcast. I'm doing the second channel. Like I'm doing all this stuff, just like no video schedule, just when I feel like it. And I feel like more in the flow than I have in a while, you know?
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I don't, and you know, I'm getting towards your level of Zen. And I will say that like, I don't really fear for where I'm going to end up. I'm just kind of happy to see where it goes.
Nice. Yeah, I've been seeing you try new things. I like it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Feel like, just more relaxed.
Yeah, I do.
It's really, it's like that ingrained thing where it's, it's almost like you feel like you're failing or something when you don't get the views. And
right.
Like trapped in this box of like trying to do this thing.
Yeah.
But, and you weigh it out. Am I doing this to make money? Is this my job? And it's a very weird middle ground. But ultimately, for me, I have to just treat it like I just have to do what I want. It's not going to be fun if I don't.
Yeah. A really key thing that helped me get here was that I finally decided that, like, it's fine if I need to get a job, you know? And, like, that, like, took everything off, you know?
Yeah.
And, it's amazing.
It's funny. I run the a food truck for this Swell Taco. You guys been there?
Great spot.
So, like, in my head, I'm just like, like, whatever. I'll upload whatever I want. And I just work, I run a food truck, whatever. It doesn't matter if I get views or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, frees you up.
Yeah, I was like, I fell into this idea that like, oh, like I have to, like, this has to be my job to be successful. Like all this, it's more ego stuff, you know?
Right.
But
yeah, and then you'll probably end up being surprised that you'll probably like do better when you're free to do things. You know what I mean? And end up making a living off of it anyway.
Yeah, that's the paradox of attachment. We didn't even get into like relationships.
That's true. All right, we'll save it. We'll save it for part 2 then.
Yeah, let us know if you guys want a part 2. We love you, Chad.
I love you too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Chad,
wait, were we still gonna skate with Brett soon?
Maybe.
All right, I would
if
love
he's
to.
Down, I'm down.
Yeah.
Danny, I forgot to ask you though.
All right, bro. On my way.
I forgot to ask you, Danny. What are your plans for the future?
Oh, let's hear it.
I think I'm still figuring everything out. I think I still have a lot more internal work to do in terms of YouTube and social media and stuff like that. I'm also kind of just throwing darts and seeing what works. I was battling a lot with the whole, do I have a second channel and then keep skating on the main channel thing? And for a while that was like, felt like the right thing to do. But as of late, I just want to post whatever I want to post on my main channel. I'm losing a lot of subscribers, but I don't care anymore. Now I'm like, I always wanted to get to 10K. I passed 10K and now I'm like going back down towards 10K. So this is kind of like a karma in some sense. Like, well, I always wanted 10K, so now I'm going back. But no, it's cool. Like I'm just doing whatever I want to do. And I'm actually really having fun making the videos I've been making. They are way more fulfilling and they're like doing something to me in my heart that the past videos weren't doing. And also I have let go of the fact that I want to be a YouTuber so bad and that I wanted YouTube to be my job, and whatever happens, happens. And I'm also just okay with like getting a job and doing whatever it is that I have to do and making videos for fun. Right. And if that means working, then so be it.
That's good, man. Yeah, I mean, if those people leave, it's like, do you want them around anyway, right? You want people to follow you that are interested in what you're doing and being yourself, right? You shouldn't have to feel that pressure. So it'll carve itself out. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever, like if I lose fucking 5,000 followers, maybe 3 years from now I'll gain 5,000 followers, subscribers or whatever back, and they'll be more true to the type of people that I want subscribed to me anyway. Whoever leaves,
things
whatever.
Change.
I don't
Some
care
people
anymore.
aren't interested in skateboarding anymore, and you can find other interests, and everyone's kind of always weaving out. So
yeah,
exactly. And then in terms of life, just trying to get better every single day, just doing something to get better in my brain, and that's it. That's all I can do.
Beautiful.
All right, well, I miss you guys. We got to get assessed soon.
Yeah, dude. Miss you, Chad. All right, Chad.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Fuck yeah, dude. Thanks for being
All
on.
right, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Talk soon.
All right.
Gotta find that button.
That like that awkward like when you're in a Zoom call and then like
Yeah.
all right, take care, be well.
And you're just looking for it. And you're like internally fucking shitting bricks because you can't find the end button.
You're like what the fuck, dude? Like the button never moves. It's always in the same spot, and like you never remember. And like you don't even know where the cursor is. Or the mouse. You're just like the little clicker. You're like looking all over the screen for it. Like you're like this. Like you enter total NPC mode. Like look. All right, George, be well.
Dude, and it's almost like that's what continues to happen when the Zoom screen goes off. You just like turn off.
Yeah. You just
All right. That was a great conversation with Chad.
Yeah, dude, that was sick. I really enjoyed having Chad on as our first guest. I fucking love that man deeply.
I love him too. I really do.
I hate you though.
Yeah, I also hate you. But that's just projections of ourselves.
Yeah, it's true. Fuck, dude.
I feel like we need to cover some logistics, right?
Well, first, I think we didn't do this, so let's. We gotta thank our patrons for supporting us monthly. So that's Brian, Evan, and Hayden.
Big shout out to our patrons. We appreciate you.
Hayden is the one in Australia.
I think so. We had a great Zoom call hangout, kind of like a live podcast, which we'll be doing every month if you want to support us. Patreon.com/droppingin. Although maybe eventually we'll change that to letting go, but right now it's still patreon.com/droppingin. So
yeah, man, super fucking sick. Chad is literally the goats of the goat of the goats.
He's probably my favorite skateboarder for the sole fact that he is one of my favorite people that I really look up to for his mindset. And he knows how to live in a way that I would like for myself.
Same, dude. Chad's an inspiration in like every aspect, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys picked up some of that too. So we love your feedback on how this went. This was our first one with a guest. Let us know what you think about the new name, the Letting Go Podcast, formerly Dropping In.
Well, it's not going to be changed yet, is it?
I don't know.
It may or may not be. Whatever. But anyway, yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the next podcast.
Or on Zoom if you hit the Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Subscribe to that Patreon.
All right. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.